Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In this video I would like to show you my Occultist that uses Blight and Bane. As always, I will start the video by running a map so that you can see the build in action and see if you actually like the gameplay or not. I will also show you an Awakening level 8 Conqueror kill as well, and after that I will talk about the build. There will be timestamps so that if you want to skip to a certain part of the video, you can just check the description. This build is an all-around really balanced build that can take on all the endgame content. The build has incredible clear speed, really solid defense because we get around 7k effective life thanks to Mind Over Matter. We make use of curses like Enfeeble and Temporal Chains, and we also get to hinder monsters with our Blight. And the build also has like really respectable single target damage as well. The build can do any map mod in the game, and it doesn't struggle at all with metamorphs and map bosses, so it's exceptionally good at mapping. You can also start the build with fairly low investment, and if you are willing to invest some money, the build has really good scalability as well. I will quickly show you the Metamorph kill, and then as well as a Conqueror kill, and after that I will talk about the build.
With your death, this nightmare will finally end. Hold still. I'm better. Out! Strike!
Okay, so let's quickly go over the gear. Using Cane of Unraveling, it's an amazing item and it's like super cheap at the moment. I believe the 6-link version of this item is like 40 chaos. It gives you a lot of chaos damage, and if you take a look at that 4th mod, it says +2 to level of all chaos spell skill gems, so it will scale your Blight and your Bane, so it's super nice. Using Carcass Jack, the area damage doesn't actually like scale the damage of our Blight or Bane, but the area of effect is super nice for mapping, and on top of that the item has like life and resistances, so it's nice. If you can't afford this, you can go for a tableau like this with this corruption. It will actually like boost your damage at the cost of some survivability. And if you want something in between the tablet and the carcass jack, you can also go for a skin of the loyal as well. I'll leave it up to you. Our gloves and our amulets are hunter based because in these slots, hunter based items can roll that chaos damage over time multiplier affix, which will boost your damage quite a bit. I would recommend that you craft these items yourself. Just buy the base, hunter based items, and then use aberrant fossils. Aberrant fossils will make it easier for you to get that chaos damage over time multiplier affix, and then you can craft, life resistances, mana, whatever you need on top of that. Our helmet, once again, I would recommend that you craft yourself. Just buy a high item level energy shield base, preferably with Blight or Bane damage enchant, and then you can use like aberrant fossils. Aberrant fossils will give you that nearby enemies have minus chaos resistance mod, and then you can craft mana, life resistance, whatever on top of that. Using Essence Worm because this is a Mind Over Matter build, and I'm only using one aura, which is Malevolence. Essence Worm makes it so that you can use that aura without reserving any of your mana, so it's like super nice for Mind Over Matter. Our other ring is fairly simple, just life, mana, and resistances. Keep in mind that when you're looking for these items, you can just like look for open prefix, so that you can craft the mana yourself, or look for with mana. And also keep in mind that strength helps because we need strength for our staff and some gems. So if you can get strength from your ring or your belt, it will be beneficial. Belt, once again, fairly simple, just life, mana, and resistances. I would recommend that you go for a Stygian Mice because you can put your Abyss Jewel right here and it will give you a chance to gain Onslaught on kill. If we don't use like Silver Flask, you can get your Onslaught from here. And boosts are fairly simple, once again, just life, movement speed, and resistances. You can look for either open prefix or mana, whatever, up to you. Make sure to look for energy shield based items because we get a lot of energy shield because we are playing Occultist. That's all the gear. So for flasks, using Seeding Divine Life Flask of Heat for freeze removal, Enduring Divine Mana Flask of Warding for the curse removal. This is always your go-to. Also using Sarv of the Divine Sulfur Flasks. Since this is like a damage over time build, can't use things like energy leech, and so we don't have like a reliable way of getting our energy shield back. This makes it so that we gain Zealous Oath, which makes it so that our life regeneration applies to our energy shield, and on top of that, most importantly, it makes it so that our life recovery from flasks apply to energy shield as well. When you have this active, you can just use your Divine Life Flask. It will give you a lot of life and energy shield at the same time, so it's super nice. It's also like a Sulfur Flask, so it gives you like 40% increased damage. And this is like a pretty much no-brainer for this type of build. Gives you evasion, curses enemies with despair, damage over time, and the smoke cloud that the flask creates will make it so that you are 50% less likely to get hit. So it's super nice for defense when you're killing map bosses and metamorphs. And that's pretty much all the flasks. Okay, so for gems, linking our Bane with Control Destruction, Enfeeble, Efficacy, Empower, and then Swift Affliction. If you can't afford the Empower 4, you can just go for a Void Manipulation. It ends up being just about the same damage. And I'm also using Enfeeble here because I'm getting Despair for my Curse. If you're planning to do like bosses and whatnot, you can put your Despair in here and then swap Enfeeble somewhere else. I will talk about it in a little bit. Linking our Blight with Infused Channeling, Efficacy, Void Manipulation, Control Destruction, and then Swift Affliction. Infused Channeling is super nice because when you gain Infusion through Channeling, it will give you 10% more Chaos damage and it will scale your Bane as well. In our glove, we have a Wither setup. Wither, Spell Totem, multiple totems, and then faster casting. Flame Dash, Arcane Surge right here. Make sure that your Arcane Surge is not above level 5 so that you can get your Arcane Surge just one Flame Dash cast. I'm also using Summon Lightning Golem for some extra cast speed, makes the build feel smoother. Also using Phase Run for some delving, if you're into that you can use it. In our helm, I have a cast 1 damage taken and temporal chain setup. As I've mentioned earlier, if you want to do like bossing and you don't want to rely on your flask to do your cursing, curse enemies with despair, you can put despair in here and then swap your enfeeble here, so it will be like cast 1 damage taken, temporal chains, and enfeeble. And I'm also using like Valve Righteous Fire here because it's like super nice for bursting down map bosses and metamorphs. And we have our Malevolence in our ring. So that's basically all the gems. So for passive tree, we are playing Occultist, of course. This stuff is pretty self-explanatory. I won't go over these. I would recommend going for Withering Presence over Wild Bastion because you don't really need the energy shield recovery. As I've mentioned earlier, we are using Sorrow of the Divine, and this just gives you a lot of cool stuff. So I would recommend going for this. One more thing that's really important here, since we don't get like any bleed removal from our flasks, you need the corrupted blood cannot be inflicted on you, implicit on any one of your jewels. I decided to go for Spreading Rot because like you can get the implicit for fairly cheap, and on top of that, Spreading Rot will make it so that your Blight inflicts Wither for 2 seconds. And if you take a look at your Blight, it has like a cast time of 0.2 seconds, so it will apply like 5 Wither stacks per second, which is super nice for ramping up your damage. And also it will increase the hinder duration of your Blight, which is nice for survivability. Other than that, when you're looking for jewels, the most important thing to look for is the Chaos Damage over time multiplier. And on top of that, you can get things like Chaos Damage, Spell Damage while wielding a staff, and Damage over time. Check the description for like PoE.trade links with setup filters for jewels. We are taking Mind over Matter, of course. Things like Hexmaster are like incredible for scaling your Bane, since Bane is considered a curse skill. Also, like getting this, you will pretty much have 100% uptime on your mana flasks. This gives you a lot of like flask effect and then cast speed. I will let you take a look at the tree. You can just copy the tree. Also, one more thing to mention. I'm sorry I didn't fix this, but if you take this point and then remove these two, you can actually like save a point. So keep that in mind. I will also put Path of Building link in the description so that if you want to just check that, you can also do that. I guess that's it about the passive tree. For Pantheons, I would recommend going for Soul of Shikari for the poison immunity. And this one, I'll leave it up to you, whatever. I decided to go with Soul of Solaris, but it really doesn't matter a lot. So I guess that's it about the build. Let me know if I've missed anything. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe. Like, I would really appreciate that. And one more thing before I leave, I stream on twitch.tv/Urgul. And I plan to have like a fixed schedule, so if you want to come chill with me, ask me some questions, whatever, feel free to do that as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next one.